Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're all in good health in this holiday season. Today, I want to talk about the movie I saw last night. It premiered on ABC. It was called The First Christmas. It was narrated by Kevin Costner. I'm gonna say the good and the bad, unfiltered, because I think we should talk about it. So, first of all, I think it's a very good idea to talk about Jesus Christ, to make a movie about him, about his life, about his birth, especially during Christmas. We have a ton of Christmas movies about Santa and about like gifts and mythical creatures. And it's a good thing that to have something like a movie or kind of a documentary about the birth of Jesus Christ. So in these days, in this country, we needed that. So I'm very grateful that they shed the light on like the true meaning of Christmas, which is Jesus Christ. However, however, I have some things to say about it. It was not truly 100% accurate. I'm sorry, I'm not dissing it. I'm not saying anything bad. I don't have beef with any of the people who made it. Um, it's just I was watching it and like I don't know why I was picking it apart. Not because I'm a bad person or I wanted them to fail, but it's like I wanted them to succeed. And I wanted to for the people who don't know about Jesus to know the information correctly. Because if you don't know, if you just converted to Christianity or you don't go like to Sunday school, you've never been to church, but you're a Christian and you want to watch it, at least get the facts straight, correct. So going to Catholic school all my life, we learned a lot about Jesus and a lot of specifics and details about his life from birth to the resurrection and even after that. And I thought that everybody knew, like it was a given that people know the details, and apparently not. So that's why it's so important to make movies about his life, but also to give accuracy. Again, I am not here to criticize the movie. It was amazing. Good job. And I'm really grateful that they are doing their best to talk about Jesus. Like amidst this everything that's going on, all the bad stuff going on in the world, all the wars, all the hatred, all the uh, evil around us. And I'm not gonna talk about like the small things that really happen, of like the actors being of a different ethnicity and having a British accent. That's fine, that's production. It doesn't change anything in the story. So the first thing I noticed when the movie started, that it portrayed the cities of Nazareth, Bethlehem, even Jerusalem as kind of like war torn slums. A lot of crumbling walls, dirt on the street, abandoned houses, which is simply not historically true. They were normal, functioning, civilized towns and villages where people lived, the markets were active, and actually the architecture was so good and is still well maintained till now. And remember, this happened during the Roman Empire. And the Romans were very strict about rules and cleanliness, and they would never allow the streets to look like that and the villages to look like a slum. So, portraying the Holy Land like that might be like dramatic and cool on the screen and movies, but it really wasn't like that. The second thing that wasn't inaccurate in the movie was the way they portrayed Saint Joseph. They portrayed him as a teenager, and throughout the movie, they kept saying, the young couple, the teenage couple, the teenage couple, the teenagers. No, and that cannot be more far from the truth and the reality because the Virgin Mary might have been a teenager because scholars estimate she was like 15 or 16, which makes total sense back in the day, especially according to the Jewish traditions. But Saint Joseph was definitely not a teenager. Saint Joseph was actually an older man. Yes, you heard me right. And he was also a widower who was previously married and his wife died. And he also had children from his previous marriage. Thus, in the Bible, in the Gospel, you can hear or read the brothers of Christ. And they did not have a romantic relationship. He was chosen to protect Mary, not to have a normal marital relationship. All right, sorry, I had to turn on the lights. It was getting dark. So, the third thing that was inaccurate in the movie was that they portrayed that the Virgin Mary and Saint Joseph like had a romantic relationship, that they were in love, and that they wanted to get married to each other, which is 100% wrong. And I will tell you the exact, true, correct way they met. So, the parents of the Virgin Mary were very old and childless for a while, and that used to be seen as a misfortune or even the sign that they had sinned. So they prayed to have a child, and God rewarded them with the Virgin Mary, and they thought of her as their miracle baby. So as a sign that they're thankful to God, and also it was like an honor to Mary, they gave Mary to the temple as a gift to the temple. And she lived her life in the temple in a very holy environment, learning about scriptures and about how to live a life devoted to God. So, as a child, Mary was brought up, she was raised by the priests at the temple. She learned about God, the traditions of Israel, and the law. And she stayed in the temple until she hit puberty, because then, like by the late teens, the girls, according to tradition, they were ready to be married, and she could not stay at the temple. So when Mary was of age, the priests needed to find somebody to take care of her, knowing that she had to remain a virgin because she was a gift to the temple, a servant in the temple. So they needed to find somebody who would take good care of her, somebody older, who is responsible, who is capable of taking care of her and providing for her, while still like not living in a marriage. So that's why they chose Joseph, because he was older, he was a good man, obedient to God, he was righteous, he was responsible, he was everything by the book, he was an older man, he was a widower. This way, they knew she was safe and she will remain a virgin for the rest of her life, and also he became her legal protector in that sense. So sorry, there was no romance in that story. But actually, it was something better than romance. It's like obeying God and trusting Him. Another thing that was not accurate was the actual birth of Jesus in the movie. So basically, in the movie, they go to Bethlehem, the village of um, Saint Joseph, because it's the village of David, and he comes from the line of King David. So in the movie, they come. There's a lot of people, of course, traveling because of the census that Caesar, at the time, which was Tiberius, Caesar Tiberius, had announced a decree that everybody needs to go for a census to register where they're from, of course, for tax purposes for the Roman Empire. So they showed the people around them, like a lot of travelers, the town being full, of course, for extra drama. And they knock on the door of a house. They come in, they help them because they're very nice and hospitable, and you see like a dozen of people in the same room. It's like a refugee camp. And they were like, no, she needs to have privacy because she's giving birth, and that was a no in their traditions. Like, blood was seen as impure, and it was like wrong for men to be in the same room as a woman who was giving birth. So that's why they took her to a cave underground where she had her baby, and there were like a lot of women helping her. Stop it right there. The part about the census was right. Although there is nothing in the Bible that says that the town was crowded or that they didn't have anywhere to stay. Uh, is just for the movies. And it actually started in medieval times in the plays to add some actions and like some interest to the plays. They were like, oh, there was a census. Everybody was like going to their villages, and the inns were fully booked, and they had nobody to take them in, so they had to give birth in a manger. That's where we get this tradition. Although in the Bible, nothing was written about these specific details. And in the Bible, of course, it doesn't say that they were like midwives and people helping the Virgin Mary give birth, so this was historically and biblically inaccurate. This one's my favorite. I found yet another thing that was completely inaccurate, and that one did it for me. Like, I was so angry, I was screaming at the TV like a crazy person. The fact that the movie said that it took for the three wise men 2 years to get to Bethlehem is kinda is basically not kinda, it's wrong. Because it might have took, of course, days or maybe weeks max, like not 2 years. Because in Matthew, in the Gospel of Matthew, they said that they came after seeing the star and they asked King Herod, where is the king of the Jews? And he's like, I am the king of the Jews. They were like, no, a new king is born. And he asked them, like, can you specify where? And they said Bethlehem. And he asked them to go and then come back and tell him the exact location of that king so he could worship him. He wanted to kill him, basically. So when they were there, they gave Jesus the gifts, of course, and while they were sleeping, the angel from God was sent to them in a dream and told them not to tell Herod about where Jesus is because he wanted to kill him. And they took another road back to their country. Okay, this is why Herod did not know what to do. He did not know how old the baby was. So he ordered to kill all the boys in Bethlehem that were 2 years old and younger. This means it did not take the Magi 2 years to come, because by the time of the massacre, Jesus would have been in Egypt. Because what? Before the massacre happened, another angel came to Saint Joseph and told him, Joseph, take your wife and your child and go to Egypt and stay there until I tell you. And they did that. They fled to Egypt. They stayed there until it was safe for them to return after Herod died, and then they came back. This is why it was so inaccurate for the movie to say that it took them 2 years, and that to imply that Jesus stayed 2 years in Bethlehem, which is incorrect. By the time he was 2, he was already in Egypt. So yeah, I don't think there's more stuff. I don't remember anything that was like that bad or that inaccurate other than these things, but I thought you guys should know in case you wanted to watch the movie, so you know what's true and what's not. It's a good movie. It's nice. It's like if you have toddlers, that's really cool to watch. You know, with them and tell them like, oh, this is Mary, this is Jesus, this was like the nativity, the story of the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, our God. And it's a cute 2-hour holiday movie. I would, if I had kids, I would have let them watch this with all the inaccuracies instead of watching something about Santa Claus. So that's a good thing. So now you know everything about that movie. I hope you enjoy. I have, again, nothing against the producers, the writers, the actors of the movie, nor the narrator. I don't know them, and I am not dissing the movie. It was amazing. The production was amazing. Actors did a really good job. I really appreciate that they shed the lights on Jesus Christ during Christmas. But yeah, I just needed to point some things, and enough yapping. I talk too much. God bless you, everybody, and have happy holidays.